Well, for those of you out there that hit the streets with your cameras, those of you that have channels, those of you that like to report on the truth, they're going to label you a journalist first and foremost, and then they're going to recategorize a journalist in what they are on the battlefield. Now, when the Bush regime was in power, they basically said, look, we're going to make up a new name, a new definition, and we're going to get away with it. And they did. And it was unlawful combatant. Okay, and they used that word all the time. And there was nothing legally attached to that. Now, under the Obama regime, there's a new phrase that's been made up and that touches on an even broader and more vague scope. And that title is unprivileged belligerent. This is different from the previous term because it does not specify any relationship or any relation to law, but rather to a notion of privilege. And likewise, it conveys no direct relation to combat, but rather simply to belligerence. Now, Obama's already famous for creating false definitions for words and terms to cover major crimes such as executions of thousands of suspects and civilians by drone strike. And this new war conduct manual directly links the new vague definition and highly exploitable phrase, might I add, of unprivileged belligerent directly to journalists, stating that in general, journalists are civilians. However, journalists may be accompanying members of armed forces, persons authorized to accompany the armed forces, or unprivileged belligerents. Now, other analysts are saying that this classification of journalists as unprivileged belligerents is leading experts to conclude that the U.S. Department of Defense has given the green light for soldiers to kill journalists. Now, when called out about it in response, they say, well, that's just not the case, but that's all they say. What else would they say? Yeah, that is the case? No. They say no, but they give no solid proof. They beat around the bush just like with everything else. It's the wording. They say, well, the wording is specifically what it means, but nobody has a solid definition of it because it touches on such a broad scope here, and they can literally take the journalist or the independent media, anyone out here trying to report on something, and say, hey, if you're in anywhere that we deem to be a battlefield or anywhere that they bring in the military, National Guard, anything, to occupy an area, you have to pay attention to what they're doing with these laws right now, guys, because it's always what they put in place now, it's down the road, is when they're planning for it to come into full effect. I can tell you, if things get crazier in this country down the road, we're going to need eyes and ears and journalists all over the place to get the truth. And if this continues at this pace, well, they're going to have us targeted like they don't already. But just more to add to it. I'll leave a link so you guys can read the rest of this. Until next time, this has been Dabu7.